I think she's definitely like a metaphor for this like border culture discussion. So I had this friend in school, and she was Mexican, but like she was like I think third generation. Like her parents were born here. They didn't speak Spanish, and she was like lighter skinned than I was. And so even as a younger kid, I had this idea that like I was more Latina than her because like, you know, my dad had like come over here and like I spoke Spanish to my grandma and stuff like that. So I remember like one time we were just sitting down, we were watching the movie, and like I was kind of like pumped to show off my skills. Like I knew like when all the songs came on, I was like saying every word. And then I forget what song it was, but then there was one point where she like super like totally outshined me and like killed it on one of the songs. And I felt like it was a very interesting experience because I suddenly felt like I was so jealous. I was like, oh hell no, like you are not more Latina than I am. Like what was that? Like that's not like a lot. Like I don't know. I felt bad, and I felt like bad about myself, and I felt jealous of her and kind of ashamed. Like I wasn't I wasn't as Latina as I thought I was. And it's awful that I thought those things, you know, like I shouldn't think those things. Like it should be more like about unity and like creating bonds with each other. Like it's kind of disgusting that there's that type of like I don't know what Ansel Lewis says, like when you come in close contact with like another Latina, it's like a mirror, and then you see yourself, and at that moment like she was like my friend was like my mirror, and then at that I saw like all these things about myself. Border culture to me is not being on any particular side. So you think of the border, you think of like whatever, the US and like Mexico, it's like a border, but the culture in between is like a place where those two like fuse, and it's like a new space is created in between. That's how I kind of read it. It threatens to like unsettle what's already been settled. So speaking of unsettling, I guess I could relate this to like times in my life where I felt like I don't feel like Latina enough. Like I feel like I have this identity. I can be I'm read as Latina. Like walking down the street, I'm read as Latina. Like sometimes it's a little bit different. Like if I have my hair down and curly, I usually look Latina. If I have it back or straightened or something like that, sometimes like people tell me that I can pass for white. Like it's this very like strange type of place to be in where you could kind of pass as different things. Or if I like wore lipstick and hoops, like I'm super Latina. Like so like identify as queer, it came out when I was like 17ish, something like that, and I like super strongly identified as like a lesbian. I'm a lesbian. But like, you know, growing up and like reading more and like kind of engaging with other people, I started to like identify as queer instead. So I use that word because it's more of like an in-between space. It incorporates a lot of different types of folks who just identify as like not heteronormative, like straight people. And so it's interesting because in my past relationships, I don't know, they say that even in queer culture, like there's a lot of like repeating the patriarchal kind of model. So like even if it's like two women like dating each other, sometimes people tend to take on like traits that are considered like, oh, like she's the guy in the relationship, she's the girl in the relationship. It's taken me quite a long time, and I'm finally at a place where I'm comfortable like really being in between, and like I found someone who's like awesome and very much in that same place. And so like I don't really think we have those roles in our relationship, and so it's kind of like this very in-between place. I mean, I'm a filmmaker. I'm a documentary filmmaker. That's like my focus. And part of the reason I even got into that was because, you know, I wanted to show just a range of how folks really are. I feel like as like people of color and Latinas especially get so, the image is so like awful of Latinas in the media. Like we can either be like maids or like someone's hot girlfriend. Like, it's so limited. So I think I really want to show like different types of people, like that we can be like nerdy and like just like a range, just how anyone is, just a range of identities. And I'm really hungry for that. So